Hello YouTube, welcome to another Season 6 Patch 6.3 guide by eGaming Television, and in this one we are doing support Thresh, the Chain Warden.
What delightful agony we shall inflict.
Now quickly before we start, I'd just like to mention our Twitter is at egaming_TV, and if you would like to find more of our guides, you can go to our website, which is www.egamingtv.com. Alright, so let's hop right into his pros and cons, starting with his first pro, which is he is very versatile. And what I do mean by this is he can be played both aggressively and passively, and he works well with any AD carry out there. If you are with something like a Vayne who wants to farm, you can easily just sit back and peel for her, or if you are with a Corki, you can go for aggressive grabs and try to go for kills. This brings us right into our next pro, which is he has high kill potential in the lane. With both your Flay and Hook, you're able to put the enemy in an awkward position and usually land a kill on them. You're also able to use your Lantern to bring your jungler in for a gank. This has a rather long range, and if done quickly, it can catch your opponents off guard. You're also able to use your flash very offensively by going forward, landing a hook, and then flaying them back afterward. The other part of why he's so versatile is he's got great defensive utility as well. One of these would be the fact that you're able to flay the opponent away if they are trying to get onto your AD carry, and the other would be you're able to drop your Lantern if an ally does get caught in some CC, they can quickly jump in it afterwards, coming to you for protection. Another pro that Thresh has is he's very fun and challenging. Your death sentence does have a wind-up time and people are always trying to dodge it, so predicting where they're going to move is really challenging. Those games where you actually land all the hooks and you're feeling like Mad Life are some of the funnest times you can have in League of Legends. As previously mentioned, Thresh is strong with any AD carry. Whether you're a hyper carry that's looking to farm himself into the late game, or you're something like a Corki who's looking to get as many kills as possible so he can snowball, Thresh is great with you. You can always rely on him being able to pull you out of an engagement you don't want to be in, or engaging to help peel. Thresh's biggest con is that he's got a lack of sustain. If you're against an AD carry who's always trying to trade against you, such as a Lucian or Ezreal, which also has a sustain support, you can sometimes have a rough time in that lane. You have two options in this scenario. One would be to try to all-in them, killing them, or the second would just be to sit back, farm, and peel when needed. The only sustain you do get is from your Relic Shield, so you may end up having to go back before the enemy opponent, but that's kind of what you have to do. That kind of brings us into our second con, which is the usage of the Relic Shield is awkward. Since Thresh does count as a ranged champion and not a melee champion, he doesn't really get the execute that the Relic Shield has on it. This means that actually getting the hit on the minion to kill it so you get the Relic Shield proc is actually sometimes hard on Thresh. This is especially annoying if you do have an AD carry who's just trying to last hit every single minion and you're not able to get off the last hit. Relic Shield is by far the best thing on Thresh, so you kind of have to take it and deal with it. If you're in the situation where your AD carry is taking every single minion and you can't get it, just try pinging off the minions that you want to kill. Thresh's next con is that he's got a very high skill cap, and teamwork is required for best use of his kit as well. Landing your death sentence is a big part of playing Thresh, and it can take some time getting used to since there is a wind-up time. Another thing you have to make sure you do is position correctly so your Lantern can actually save allies. Thresh also allows your allies to play a bit unsafer than they usually could by, say, invading the jungle, knowing that Thresh could pull them out. However, some people won't take advantage of this. It's extremely annoying if your jungler and Thresh do have good coordination and he's able to invade your jungle over and over again, and if you do finally collapse on him, he's just going to pull him out anyways. For Thresh's Masteries, we go 18 Cunning and 12 Resolve, grabbing the Thunderlord's Decree Mastery. We're going for this since we are in an aggressive lane. If you know you're going to be in a very passive lane, Bond of Stone would be a very good choice. However, for the kill potential in this game, we are going for Thunderlord's Decree. So we start in Cunning by first grabbing Wanderer, so we get 3% movement speed out of combat. We grab this because Thresh does roam around a lot looking for death sentences, so this helps with that. To help with our lane sustain a little bit, since we don't have any, we get Secret Stash, so our potions and elixirs last 10% longer, and our health potions are replaced by biscuits that restore 20 health and 10 mana instantly on use. Since tossing out hooks can cost a lot of mana, we grab Meditation, so we regenerate 1.5% of our missing mana every 5 seconds. Like all supports out there, we then grab Bandit, so we gain 1 gold for each nearby minion killed by an ally. Since Thresh is classified as a ranged champion, we gain 3 gold when hitting an enemy champion with a basic attack on a 5-second cooldown. Since we don't really need the penetration, we grab Intelligence, so our cooldown reduction cap is increased to 45%, and we gain 5% cooldown reduction. Finally, we grab our Keystone Mastery, which is Thunderlord's Decree. Your third attack or damaging spell against the same enemy champion calls down a lightning strike, dealing magic damage in the area. It's 10 damage per level, plus 30% of your bonus attack damage and 10% of your ability power on a 25 to 15 second cooldown based on your level. We then move into the resolve side by first grabbing recovery, so we get 2 health per 5 seconds, and this just helps us stay in the lane a bit longer. We then get tough skin, so we take 2 less damage from champion and neutral monster basic attacks. We then move into veteran scars, so we get plus 45 health, and this just makes us a bit tankier in the early game. And finally, we get insight, so it reduces the cooldown of our summoner spells by 15%. This is just nice because we do use flash and ignite a lot, so just using those a bit more is obviously very nice in the game. For Thresh's runes, we get 9 greater marks of attack damage, 9 greater seals of health, 9 greater glyphs of magic resist, and 3 greater quintessences of armor. In total, this gives us 8.51 attack damage, 72 health, 12.78 armor, and 12.06 magic resist. The health, armor, and magic resist makes us really tanky in lane, and the attack damage just adds a bit to our harass, and being able to kill minions with our relic shield. For our summoners, we get ignite and flash. Ignite is a great summoner on Thresh since he's trying to snowball the lane. Thresh actually has a surprising amount of damage early game. With his ignite, he can usually get kills and get his AD carry ahead. Exhaust may need to be taken, however, if you are against champions such as Yi and Tryndamere. Flash has a lot of defensive and offensive uses. This can allow you to escape from champions or can be used to chase down opponents if needed. Flash is great on Thresh since he can use it to flash forward, land a hook on a squishy champion, and usually get that kill. So now we're going to touch on all of Thresh's abilities, starting with his passive, which is called Damnation. Thresh's basic attacks do not utilize projectiles, and his basic attack windup is only reduced by 0.25% per 1% bonus attack speed rather than the standard 1%. For the Damnation portion, Thresh collects the souls of the dead enemies by approaching them or by placing Dark Passage's lantern nearby. Each soul permanently grants 0.75 ability power and bonus armor. Champions and large enemies always drop a soul, whereas small minions and monsters only sometimes drop a soul. Only enemies within a certain distance of Thresh drop souls upon death. Souls are visible to allies and only become visible to enemies if their team has vision of him. Souls disappear if not picked up after 8 seconds. And the range of the creeps that are dying you have to be within to get Damnation procs is 1900. So very simply, you just run around picking up souls that your allies kill, and because of these souls, you get a bit tankier and you get some ability power, so your abilities do a bit more as well. As the game goes on and you keep collecting souls, you actually become rather tanky just from the souls. You get tons and tons of armor, however you do not get any magic resist from this, so you may want some magic resist in your build if you are against AP champions. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to say about this ability, just make sure you run over the souls when you see them, and we're going to hop into the next ability. So here we are at your Q ability, which is called Death Sentence. After a 0.5 second delay, Thresh throws out his scythe in a line and tethers himself to the first enemy hit, dealing them magic damage and stunning them for 1.5 seconds. Upon hitting an enemy, Death Sentence's cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds, and the magic damage is between 80 and 240 plus 50% AP. While the tether persists, Thresh cannot attack and periodically tugs on the tether each time, pulling the target a short distance toward himself. After 0.5 seconds, or instantly if he hits a minion or monster, Thresh can reactivate the ability to use Death Leap while the tether holds. So for Death Leap, Thresh dashes to the bound enemy, removing the stun, but allowing him to attack again. The range is 1100, the cost is 80 mana, and the cooldown goes from 20 to 12 seconds at max rank. So this is your main ability on Thresh, so we do max it first considering the cooldown goes down a lot, and it is your main ability that you need to land on Thresh. The combo you do see most often on Thresh is he will land this Q, then reactivate the Q, which is Death Leap, to dash to the target, and then flay them backwards towards his team. If he's level 6, he can also drop his ultimate underneath so they can't really move out. This makes Thresh a great engaged champion, and he's great in pick comps that go around looking for single targets to kill so they can push. This is also really nice in the middle of a team fight if you can get it off on a target that's rather squishy, that's trying to get to your AD carry. Sure, you're not going to be able to attack, which isn't a big deal, considering they get stunned for 1.5 seconds. It's also worth mentioning that this is a great ability for escaping. As long as there are minions or monsters nearby, you can land a Death Sentence on them, activating it and using Death Leap to go towards them and running away. Alright, so now we look at our W, which is called Dark Passage. Thresh throws his lantern to the target location where it remains for up to 6 seconds, revealing its immediate surroundings and shielding the first ally to come near it for 4 seconds. The shield amount is between 60 and 220 plus 40% AP. If an ally right-clicks the lantern, they pick it up and dash to Thresh's location. If Thresh moves a certain distance away, the lantern automatically returns to him. The range at which you can throw it is 950, and the range you can move away is 1500. The cost is between 50 and 70 mana, and the cooldown goes from 22 to 16 seconds at max rank. This ability very simply allows your teammates to play a bit more aggressive than they usually would. They know that if Thresh is around, even if they get in a somewhat shitty situation, he can pull them out, saving them. It's great having Thresh on your team if you are a jungler who likes to do a lot of counter jungling. You can take the enemy opponent's jungle away over and over and over again, and if Thresh is around, he can pull you out if you do get collapsed on. This ability is also great to pull in your jungler for a gank. If you're standing near a wall or something, you can toss the lantern over the other side. The jungler can take the lantern, landing at Thresh and being in the lane. This can make for much more effective ganks as your jungler doesn't really have to worry about how he's going to get into the lane. In the end, it's also great to just throw on somebody in a team fight, giving them a nice little shield so they can probably survive through the engagement. This is the second best ability to max, so of course we therefore max it second, right after our Q. Now it's our E, and this one's called Flay. For the passive, Thresh's basic attacks deal bonus magic damage, increased with the time he spent since his last basic attack. The bonus magic damage is your souls, plus up to between 80 and 200% AD. For the active, which is the better part of the ability, Thresh sweeps his chain in a broad line towards a target direction. Enemies hit, take magic damage, are knocked in the direction of the chains, and are slowed afterwards for 1 second. The magic damage it deals is between 65 and 185 plus 40% AP, and the slow is between 20 and 40%. The range is 400, the cost is between 60 and 80 mana, and the cooldown is always 9 seconds. Now Flay has a number of good uses. The first simple one is to knock somebody back into your team. That's very self-explanatory. You aim it towards your team, and they get knocked towards that direction. Another good reason to use it is to piss off Leona. If Leona is in mid-jump and you flay her, you actually knock her back and she does not get to go towards the target that she was going to land her thing on. This makes Thresh one of the best picks against Leona. It can stop all sorts of other dashes and whatnot, but the one you do see most often is against a Leona, since it is a support-on-support fight. As good as this ability is, we still max it last, considering the slow's already decent and the damage on the passive doesn't matter a whole lot. But the cooldown is also always 9 seconds. It doesn't actually go down as you level it, so that is the main reason we actually max it last, because the others go down a lot more as we do level them. Now we arrive at Dat Dare Ultimate, which is very simply called the box. So after a 0.75 second delay, Thresh summons 5 spectral walls around him that last up to 5 seconds. Each wall breaks upon contact with an enemy champion, dealing them magic damage and slowing them by 99% for 2 seconds. The magic damage is between 250 and 550 plus 100% AP. Once a wall is broken, the remaining walls deal no damage and slow for only 1 second. The range is 450, the cost is 100 mana, and the cooldown goes from 150 to 130 seconds at max rank. The ultimate is a little underwhelming, to be honest. It does do a nice chunk of damage to the first person to go through it, but all the other people just get a slow, which is only 1 second long. It is great if you do pick off a single target, you can drop the box and then flay them through it so they take the magic damage no matter if they didn't want to. It can be great in a team fight if you do get it on multiple enemies and multiple people do have to run through the walls, because they pretty much can't move for 1 second having a 99% slow. This can give your team the advantage to get a better position and hopefully win that team fight. So with all of his abilities out of the way, let's look at his ability order, and it starts with his R, which is called the box, and you take it at 6, 11, and 16 like every other ultimate in the game. Our first basic priority is Death Sentence. We take it at 2, 4, 5, 7, and 9. We then move into Dark Passage, which is our little shield lantern. We take it at 3, 8, 10, 12, and 13. Finally is our Flay. We take it at 1, 14, 15, 17, and 18. We take this at level 1 because the flay is really strong and it adds a nice portion of damage to our harass as well. However, we only need 1 point into it. Other than that, we max it last. Now we're going to hop right into our item build, which starts with a relic shield, 3 health potions, and a warding totem. Our first purchases would want to be a sight stone, a Tarragon's brace, some vision wards, boots of swiftness, and a sweeping lens. We get all the vision we need from the sight stone and vision wards, and we get a bit tankier as well from the Tarragon's brace. The boots of swiftness are also really nice since we are roaming around sometimes looking for death sentences. For the standard mid-game build, we simply add an Aegis of the Legion and a Kindle gem. The gem adds some nice health and cooldown reduction, and the Aegis gives some health, base health regeneration, some much needed magic resist, and an aura which gives allies 10 magic resist. In late game, we then upgrade our Tarragon's brace to the face of the mountain, we turn our Aegis and Kindle gem into Locket of the Iron Solari, we add a frozen heart, keep our sight stone, and keep some vision wards on us. When we are level 9, we want to make sure we upgrade our sweeping lens into an Oracle alteration as well. Face of the mountain is a great item since it makes us a bit tankier, gives us gold generation, cooldown reduction, and it gives us a nice little ability to put a shield on an ally or ourselves. Locket's also really nice because it gives people magic resistance and a nice little shield when activated, and Frozen Heart, of course, gives us 20 cooldown reduction, 90 armor, 400 mana, and a passive which reduces the attack speed of nearby enemies by 15%. 15% attack speed reduction can actually be really game-changing if you are against a lot of auto-attacking champions. For our final build, we keep all of those items, turn our Sightstone into a Ruby Sightstone for a bit more health, add a Mikhail's Crucible. This item has a very amazing active which allows you to remove all sorts of CC from your teammates. We finally enchant our Boots of Swiftness with Captain, which grants 10% movement speed to nearby approaching allied champions. This is great on a champion like Thresh, who's usually moving into a team fight, and his allies can move in faster. As a support player, you need to know how to play with your AD carry. If you're with an AD carry who scales a lot better than the enemy AD carry and the rest of their team, simply secure him farm. Keep up a lot of wards so he's safe to farm, and peel for him when needed. If you're on a team that has a really strong early game but a shitty late game, try to get your AD carry snowballing. In this scenario, you're going to try to want to end the game before their team is better than yours. Look to get in a lot of trades with your Flay passive damage and land those death sentences. Also try to counter their vision with your vision wards and pull in your jungler for ganks. That pretty much covers it for our 6.3 guide on Thresh. I'm sorry if my voice was a bit off in this guide. I've been sick for the last little while and I've decided, well, I've got to put up at least a guide sometime soon, so I just sucked it up. For more of our guides, you can go to www.egamingtv.com. We have a nice list of our guides there and they're very easy to find. If you wish to talk to us, you can go to our Contact Us page on that site as well, or you can go to Twitter at egaming_TV. If you guys like this video, please also like and subscribe as we do have tons and tons of League of Legends content coming out in the near future. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys around the YouTube channel.